The world had never been louder. Even in the quiet hours of dawn, when the sun had barely risen and the village still slept beneath a blanket of soft mist, his mind refused to rest. Thoughts tangled like vines, memories collided like storm clouds, worries echoed like distant thunder, refusing to fade. He sat at the edge of his small room, elbows on his knees, staring at the floorboards as if the answers to his life's chaos were hidden in the grains of the wood. But the more he searched for peace, the more noise he found inside himself. Every day began the same. Wake up with the weight of unfinished tasks. Eat breakfast while replaying yesterday's mistakes. Walk through the village as fears of the future whispered in his ear. And when night came, sleep slipped through his fingers, stolen by overthinking, regrets, and the constant hum of a mind that had forgotten to be still. He tried everything. Deep breaths, walks by the river, counting backwards, even forcing himself to think nothing, which only made the noise grow louder. No matter what he did, silence remained a stranger. And slowly, he began to fear himself. Not the world, not his failures, but the storm inside his own head. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky melted into shades of gold and violet, he sat outside his home, watching villagers move with calmness he had never known. Somewhere deep inside him, a realization surfaced. It's not the world that's noisy, it's me. He closed his eyes and whispered, more like a plea than a promise, I just want my mind to be quiet, even for one moment. But the moment never came. Soon after, he heard stories of a wise master who lived high in the mountains, a man said to understand the secret to peace, clarity, and a silent mind, a man who taught not through words, but through presence. And so the young man made a decision that would shift the course of his life. He would leave everything behind, his job, his village, his routines, and seek the master. Not for power, not for enlightenment, but for one simple, desperate hope: to finally empty his mind. With nothing but a small bag, trembling hands, and a heart full of noise, he took his first step toward the mountains, and toward a truth he had sought his whole life.
The road to the mountains was far quieter than the world he knew, but that quiet only magnified the chaos inside him. Cicadas hummed in the trees, leaves rustled in the wind, dust lifted softly behind his footsteps. Nature breathed slowly, steadily, without hurry. But his mind raced. As he walked the narrow dirt path leading out of the village and into the vast stretches of countryside, thoughts flooded him relentlessly. What if the master can't help me? What if there is no such thing as peace? What if I'm broken in a way that can't be fixed? What if I never learn how to silence myself? Every question weighed heavier than the last. The more peaceful the world became, the more painfully obvious his inner storm felt, like standing in the middle of a quiet church with a drum pounding inside his skull. He passed farmers tending to their crops, their expressions calm and gentle. He passed children chasing each other, laughter spilling freely like clear water. He passed old men drinking tea under the shade of a worn oak tree, speaking softly, living simply. How did they do it? How did they live without being consumed by their own thoughts? Was he the only one trapped in the prison of his mind? At one point, He stopped on a small wooden bridge overlooking a flowing river. He leaned against the rail, staring at the water as it slid around rocks, bending effortlessly, never resisting. Everything in nature seemed to move with ease. Nothing forced, nothing frantic, nothing fighting itself. He wished just once that his thoughts could flow like that river, smoothly, quietly, without trying to drown him. But as he watched the water, his mind wandered again, racing into memories of past mistakes, imagining future disasters that hadn't even happened. He clenched the wooden rail, frustrated. He couldn't even stay present while watching a river. That's when he realized his battle wasn't with the world. His battle was with his own attention, a restless creature constantly running ahead or falling behind, never resting in the now. He continued walking, and the mountains began to grow larger in the distance, their peaks disappearing into soft layers of cloud. Somewhere up there, the master was waiting. A man who lived with a mind quieter than the river. A man who understood something the young man did not. A man who could teach him the peace he had chased all his life. His steps grew slower as he walked through a path lined with tall bamboo. The wind whispered through the hollow stalks, producing a calm, breath-like song. For the first time in days, the young man took a deep breath, not to silence his thoughts, but simply to feel the air fill his lungs. And for a brief, fragile moment, the noise inside him softened. Not gone, not healed, but softened. It was enough to keep him walking. With determined eyes and a noisy mind he hoped to quiet, he continued toward the mountain village, toward the master, toward the lesson that would change everything.
Aaron followed Master Lien down the narrow stone path, their footsteps echoing softly between the towering bamboo stalks swaying overhead. The air felt cooler here, shaded from the morning sun, and yet Aaron's thoughts burned hotter, swirling, fighting, replaying the master's words over and over. Your mind is heavy, not because of what you carry, but because you never put anything down. Aaron clenched his jaw. Put things down? How could he? His life was filled with unfinished goals, silent fears, what-ifs, regrets, expectations, disappointments, dreams, and the pressure to be more, do more, prove more. If he didn't keep thinking, didn't keep planning, didn't keep worrying, everything would fall apart. Master Lien slowed his steps as though he felt the storm of thought behind him. He pointed toward a large wooden bucket near the riverbank. It was old, worn out, held together by iron rings that had rusted long ago. "Pick it up," the master said. Aaron bent down. He gripped the bucket and lifted it. It was heavier than he expected. "Walk with it," the master instructed, turning down a winding path. Aaron followed, struggling slightly. The handle bit into his palms. The weight tugged at his arm. But he said nothing, trying to prove himself strong. They walked farther and farther, across rocks, over a small wooden bridge, through patches of tall grass that brushed against Aaron's legs like whispers. At last they reached another clearing where sunlight poured across a field of wildflowers. "Put the bucket down," Master Lien said gently. Aaron exhaled in relief as he set it on the ground. "Feels better, doesn't it?" Aaron rubbed his shoulder. "Of course, anyone would feel better." The master smiled slowly. And yet, the bucket was empty. Aaron froze. His eyes widened. He hadn't even thought to look inside. You suffered because you believed it was heavy. You assumed it was full. You carried it as if it were filled with burdens. But the truth is, it had nothing inside. A silence stretched between them, deeper than the valley below. Aaron, the old master continued, your mind works the same way. You don't suffer because life is unbearable. You suffer because you believe you must constantly carry weight, even when nothing demands it. Aaron felt his breath tremble. You think too much about things that don't even exist yet. You fill your mind with fear of emptiness, so you never allow your mind to truly be empty. The wind rustled the wildflowers as if agreeing. Aaron swallowed hard. For the first time, the truth didn't feel like judgment. It felt like liberation, a whisper urging him to look within. Come, Master Lien said softly. Your real training begins now. And they walked onward, not just through the landscape of the world, but into the uncharted territory of Aaron's restless mind. They reached a small pavilion overlooking a still pond, its surface smooth as polished glass, reflecting the deep blue sky and drifting clouds. In the center of the pavilion stood a low wooden table, and on it a simple clay teapot and 2 cups. Master Lien motioned for Aaron to sit. Tell me what troubles you, the master said. Aaron released a shaky breath, months' worth of bottled-up frustration rising to the surface. I can't control my thoughts, he confessed. They come from everywhere, all at once. My past mistakes, my future fears. Every time I try to calm my mind, it becomes louder, like a storm I can't escape. Master Lien nodded, pouring tea into Aaron's cup. Hold out your hands, he said. Aaron lifted the cup. The master continued pouring, and pouring, and pouring, until the tea spilled over the brim, dripping onto Aaron's fingers, then cascading onto the table below. Hey, it's overflowing, Aaron exclaimed, startled. Master Lien stopped pouring and set the pot down. And your mind, he said calmly, is just like this cup. Aaron stared at the mess, heart pounding. Your cup is already full of old worries, fears, plans, assumptions, and noise. When you try to gain new wisdom, new peace, new focus, there is no room. He pointed to the overflowed tea. You cannot control your mind because you never empty it. Aaron's voice dropped to a whisper. How do I empty it? Master Lien leaned back, eyes glimmering with the softness of someone who had once asked the same question. You begin, he said gently, by noticing what fills it. A hush fell around them. Even the birds seemed to hold their breath. You must become aware of every thought that enters and decide consciously whether it deserves to stay. He tapped the overflowed cup. Most people don't choose their thoughts. They simply react to them. They believe every thought is important, every fear is real, every memory is relevant, every worry is urgent. The master picked up the cup again. But when you see thoughts as clouds passing in the sky, you no longer cling to them. You no longer fear them. You simply let them pass. Aaron felt something shift inside, a widening, a softening. So, he said slowly, the secret is not to fight my thoughts, but to let them go? Exactly. Master Lien smiled. A quiet mind is not an empty mind. It is a mind that refuses to hold on to what does not matter. Aaron bowed his head, absorbing the meaning. It felt like sunlight breaking through dark clouds, warm, gentle, awakening something long forgotten within him. The path to peace wasn't a distant pilgrimage. It was a choice, moment by moment. And Aaron, for the first time, felt ready to walk it.
The afternoon sun dipped lower as Master Leon led Aaron along a narrow path toward the heart of the bamboo forest. The tall stalks swayed gently overhead, whispering secrets carried by the wind. Each rustle felt like a thought drifting by, some soft, some sharp, all fleeting. Yet inside Aaron's mind, the noise surged again. What if I never learn this? What if my mind will always be restless? What if I'm not cut out for peace? What if... Master Leon stopped abruptly. Aaron nearly bumped into him. "Do you hear that?" the master asked. Aaron blinked, listening. The wind? No. Listen deeper. Aaron closed his eyes. At first, he heard only the soft sway of bamboo, but then, faintly, a rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Consistent, subtle, repeating. They followed the sound and found a wooden wind chime hanging from a branch, swaying steadily. Each tap echoed softly through the forest. Master Lien pointed at it. "That sound," he said, "is like the noise in your mind." Aaron frowned. "But it's gentle, calming." "Only because it is outside you," the master replied. "Noise inside the mind feels louder than noise outside of it." He stepped closer to the chime, lightly touching its wooden pieces. "This chime only makes noise when the wind pushes it. Your mind is the same. Every time a thought touches it, you react." Aaron felt a pang of recognition. Yes! Every tiny thought made him sway, made him rattle, made him tremble, even when nothing was actually happening. The master continued, "You see, Aaron, the problem is not that thoughts come. The problem is that you believe every thought deserves a reaction." He lifted the chime gently until it stopped swaying. Silence. Aaron stared, breath caught. As long as you are moved by every passing wind, every memory, every worry, every doubt, your mind will never be still. Aaron swallowed. "Then how do I stop reacting?" The master released the chime. It swayed again, tapping softly. "You stop giving importance to every wind," the master said. "You stop following every thought. You learn to see them without becoming them." Aaron sat on a flat stone nearby. The forest fell quiet around him. The wind chime tapped again, but this time he simply heard it. He didn't react. He didn't judge it. He didn't follow it. He just listened. And for one brief moment, Aaron felt something new. Not silence, but stillness. A stillness he had never known before. After leaving the bamboo forest, the path opened to a wide river, clear, powerful, flowing endlessly. Sunlight danced across its surface, creating ripples of gold that shimmered and fractured with every movement. Master Leon walked to the riverbank and sat down, motioning for Aaron to join him. "Look at the river," he said. Aaron gazed at the flowing water. It rushed past,
crashing gently against rocks, swirling around branches, carving its way forward with purpose. "What do you see?" the master asked. "Movement," Aaron replied. "Constant change." "Good. And what else?" Aaron narrowed his eyes. There, in the center of the river, was a large stone, unmoving, grounded, patient, completely unaffected by the water rushing past it. "The stone," Aaron said slowly. "It doesn't move." Master Leon smiled. "Exactly." He picked up a small pebble and tossed it into the water. "The river," he said, "is your mind, full of thoughts, emotions, memories, fears, always flowing, always moving, always changing." He pointed at the stone. "The stone is who you truly are, the observer, the witness." The wind brushed the surface of the water, sending gentle ripples outward. When you identify with your thoughts, you get swept away by the river. You drown in noise, in fear, in confusion. Aaron's heart tightened. He had lived his life swept away by inner currents. "But when you become the stone," Master Leon continued, "the river can rush around you, and you remain still." Aaron stared at the stone, water splashing against it, but it never wavered. "Does the river stop?" the master asked. "No." "Does the stone stop existing?" "No." "That is the secret," Master Leon said softly. "You cannot stop thoughts from flowing, but you can choose not to be carried by them." Aaron closed his eyes. The sound of the river filled his ears, but instead of overwhelming him, it grounded him. He imagined himself as the stone, still, steady, unshaken. Thoughts rushed through his mind, unfinished tasks, mistakes from the past, fears of the future. But for the first time, Aaron didn't chase them. He didn't cling to them. He watched them, observed them, let them drift past like water. Master Leon spoke again, voice gentle as the river's breeze. "When you stop trying to control the river, you learn to control your peace." Aaron inhaled deeply, a slow breath that filled him with clarity. He could feel it, the beginning of mastery, the first spark of true calm. The journey wasn't over, but for the first time, he felt he was walking forward with a quiet heart.
The sky slowly shifted toward evening, the light turning softer, warmer, a gentle gold that filtered through the treetops like a blessing. Master Leon guided Aaron into a quiet courtyard bordered by wooden walls and surrounded by lush greenery. In the center stood a round structure with no sharp edges, no corners, a circular meditation hall built from smooth stone. Aaron stared at it, puzzled. "What is this place?" he asked. Master Leon stepped toward the entrance. "A room with no corners," he replied, "a place where even shadows cannot hide." Aaron hesitated before following. Inside, the hall was perfectly round, no angles, no corners, no edges, just open space and soft natural light illuminating the walls. Master Leon sat cross-legged on a cushion and gestured for Aaron to do the same. "Why is the room built this way?" Aaron asked. The master closed his eyes. "In a cornered room," he said, "dust gathers, shadows settle, old things hide in places you do not notice." Aaron looked around. The circular hall felt unreal, as if thoughts couldn't cling to anything here. Your mind, the master continued, has many corners, places where thoughts hide, unnoticed, unexamined. Old memories, old fears, old grudges, they gather dust. His voice lowered, deep and resonant. And because they stay hidden, they continue to shape you. Aaron's chest tightened. He knew this was true. He carried fears he had never spoken, regrets he had never confronted, anger he had pushed aside, hoping it would disappear. Master Leon opened his eyes and reached into a small wooden bowl, taking out a handful of sand. He scattered it across the smooth floor. The grains spread evenly, nothing piling up, nothing gathering. "See?" the master said. "In a circular space, nothing collects. Everything stays visible." Aaron watched the sand settle. It felt symbolic, painfully symbolic. "You cannot calm a mind whose corners you refuse to examine," Master Leon said. "You must face the thoughts you hide. You must turn toward the pain you avoid." Aaron felt a trembling inside him, a mix of fear and relief. He had been running from his own mind for years, afraid of what he would find if he looked too closely. Master Leon stood, motioning Aaron to follow him. "Dust will always enter," the master said, "but a mind without corners leaves no place for it to stay." Aaron stepped into the center of the hall and closed his eyes. He breathed slowly, letting old fears appear, one by one, not pushing them away, not hiding from them, but watching them gently, just as the master had taught. He didn't fight them. He didn't judge them. He simply saw them. And with each breath, he felt a corner dissolve and a little more space open within. Night approached. The moon rose above the valley, pouring silver light across the landscape. Crickets hummed, leaves rustled softly, and the cool air carried the scent of pine and earth. Master Lin led Aaron to the top of a secluded hill, where a large bronze gong rested on a stone platform. It gleamed under the moonlight, ancient yet powerful. Aaron had never seen it before. Its presence felt alive, as if it held stories older than the mountains. Master Lin handed Aaron a padded mallet. "Strike the gong," he said. Aaron swung gently. The gong released a deep, resonant tone that rippled through the night like a wave of sound, vibrating through Aaron's chest. The note lingered, then faded. Master Lin stepped closer. "That sound," he said, "is one thought." Aaron looked at him confused. "One thought?" "Yes," the master replied. "One single thought creates ripples in your mind, just as this gong creates vibrations in the air." He tapped the gong again, lightly, producing a soft but long-lasting hum. A small thought can echo for hours or even days. Aaron felt that deeply. One embarrassing moment could haunt him for years. One future worry could ruin an entire morning. One negative comment could replay endlessly in his mind. Master Lin continued, "The problem is not the thought itself. The problem is that you strike the gong again and again, long before the first echo has faded." Aaron's breath caught. He understood. He had been striking the gong constantly, never waiting, never giving silence a chance to return. "Now," Master Lin said, "hit it once more, harder." Aaron struck the gong. A deep, thunder-like vibration rolled through the hill, powerful and overwhelming. The echo lasted much longer this time. "Sit," the master said, lowering himself to the ground. Aaron sat cross-legged beside him. "Do nothing," the master whispered. "Just wait. Let it fade." Aaron listened. The vibration slowly softened, 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 until only silence remained. And then Master Lin leaned forward. "How many times did your hand want to strike the gong again?" he asked. Aaron swallowed. "Many times. I kept feeling the urge." The master nodded calmly. "That urge," he said, "is your habit of overthinking. You believe silence must be filled. You believe calm must be disturbed. You believe a mind without noise feels unnatural." He placed the mallet gently on the ground. "But the truth is, your mind is not afraid of silence. You are." Aaron felt those words settle into him like truth dropped into still water. Master Lin lifted his head and looked toward the vast sky. "When you learn to let one thought pass before you strike the next, you begin to master your mind." Aaron closed his eyes, listening to the night, the breeze, the distant river, the rhythm of his own breathing. For the first time, his thoughts did not rush to fill the space. He felt the silence. He felt the stillness. And for one fleeting moment, he felt peace.
By the time Aaron and Master Leon descended from the hill, the moon had climbed high into the sky, glowing like a silver lantern hung between the stars. They walked in silence, their shadows stretching long across the dirt path. Aaron felt surprisingly light after the lesson with the gong, as though an invisible tension had loosened inside him. Master Leon led him to a small shed beside the monastery. Inside were shelves lined with stones, dozens of them, all different shapes and sizes. "Choose one," the master said. Aaron picked a medium-sized stone, rough around the edges, heavy enough to feel real in his hands. "Good," Master Leon said. "Now, carry it." Aaron frowned, but didn't question him. He followed the master out of the shed and back to the forest's edge. The night was peaceful, but the stone's weight grew noticeable with every step. "Why am I carrying this?" Aaron finally asked. Master Leon did not answer. Instead, he gestured for Aaron to continue walking. They circled the courtyard, climbed a small incline, and crossed a long wooden bridge. By the time they reached the far side, Aaron's arm was aching. "Master, what is the lesson?" he asked, breathless. The old sage turned, eyes gentle. "You carried that stone because I told you to. But tell me, did you need to carry it?" Aaron blinked, confused. I thought it was part of the training." The master smiled. "Yes, part of the training is to make you realize how quickly you take on burdens simply because they appear in front of you." He pointed at the stone in Aaron's hand. "That stone is no heavier than your worries, and yet you chose to carry it without question." Aaron looked down at the stone, feeling the truth sink into his muscles. "You carry memories that no longer matter," Master Leon continued. "You carry fears that do not belong to you. You carry expectations others placed on you long ago, and you treat them like they are your responsibility." Aaron felt his throat tighten. "Put the stone down." Aaron gently lowered it to the ground, relief flooding through his arm. "How does it feel?" the master asked. "Lighter," Aaron admitted. "Not because the stone changed, but because you finally let it go." Aaron's breath trembled. "You must learn to ask yourself," Master Leon said, "whenever a thought arises, do I need to carry this? Does this belong to me? Does this help me walk forward?" The forest rustled in agreement. "Most of the noise in your mind," Master Leon said, "comes from burdens you choose to pick up.
but never choose to put down. Aaron bowed his head. For the first time, he understood letting go did not mean failing. It meant freeing himself. And as he stood in the moonlit clearing, Aaron felt a weight lift from his spirit, a burden he had carried for too long.
The next morning arrived with a soft golden dawn. Birds greeted the new day with gentle songs, and the world smelled of dew and sunlight. Master Lian invited Aaron into a small meditation chamber, lined with scrolls and incense bowls. In the center stood a tall, elegant mirror. But when Aaron stepped closer, he gasped. There was no reflection. The surface was perfectly smooth, polished to a bright shine, but it reflected nothing. Not the room, not the light, not even Aaron himself. "What kind of mirror is this?" he asked, astonished. Master Lian approached quietly. "This," he said, "is the mirror of stillness." Aaron ran his fingers along the edge. It felt cool, metallic, alive. "Why does it show nothing?" he asked. "Because," the master said, "reflection requires movement." Aaron frowned. "Movement?" "The mind reflects what it clings to," Master Lian explained. "When your mind is restless, you reflect every fear, every insecurity, every shadow." He gestured toward the blank mirror. "But when the mind becomes still, it reflects nothing. Not because there is nothing to see, but because it refuses to distort reality with fear." Aaron stared at the mirror again, mesmerized. Was this what true peace looked like? Master Lian continued, "Sit." Aaron sat cross-legged before the mirror. "Close your eyes," the sage said, "and listen not to your thoughts, but to the space between them." Aaron tried. At first his mind rushed with noise. "I'm not doing it right. What if I fail? What if he thinks I'm not learning fast enough? Why can't I quiet my mind? Why is this so difficult?" But then he remembered the gong, the river, the room with no corners, the ring chime. He breathed slowly. He watched his thoughts come. He watched them go. He didn't follow them. He didn't fight them. A softness began to emerge inside him, as if a knot were gently unraveling. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time became weightless. Finally, Master Lian spoke. "Open your eyes." Aaron did. He gasped again, but this time in awe. The mirror was now reflecting a faint, gentle outline of him. Not sharp, not perfect, just a soft impression shimmering like water. "You see," Master Lian said, "when your mind is quiet, the world becomes clear. When you let go of the noise inside you, you begin to see who you truly are." Aaron touched the surface, and for the first time he saw himself not as a bundle of fears, not as a storm of thoughts, but as a being capable of peace. "But remember," the master said, "your reflection disappears the moment your thoughts control you again." Aaron understood. The mirror was not magical. It simply showed him the truth of his mind. And in that truth, he found clarity, calm, presence, a stillness blooming like morning light inside his chest.
The sun hovered low over the horizon as Elias walked the familiar path that wound toward the river, a path that once felt heavy beneath his feet, a path he had walked with embarrassment, with doubt, with the weight of a cracked clay pot that had nearly broken his spirit. But this time, he wasn't carrying the pot. He carried something much greater. A story, a truth, a transformation.
The river's gentle murmur greeted him like an old friend, the kind that remembers all your flaws yet never judges them. He stopped at the water's edge and closed his eyes, letting the breeze brush over him. The world felt unchanged, yet inside him everything was different. He remembered the first day he walked here with the village's perfect craftsman, how he had felt inferior, incomplete, ashamed of his broken pot. He remembered how the water leaked from its cracks, leaving a trail he once believed was proof of his failure. And he remembered the moment he discovered the truth, that those very cracks had given life to 1,000 unseen flowers, blooming because of the water he had unintentionally shared with the earth. Now Elias stood at the riverbank, feeling no shame, only gratitude. As if to respond to his thoughts, a gentle rustle came from behind him. The village elder approached, leaning on his carved wooden staff, his eyes glowing with that ageless knowing, an understanding that only those who've lived long enough to embrace imperfection can hold. "You have returned," the elder said softly. "I have," Elias replied. "I understand now." "And what is it you understand?" "That my cracks were never a curse. They were the reason something beautiful happened. They were the gift I didn't know I carried." The elder nodded slowly, the corners of his mouth lifting into a quiet smile. "Perfection has never grown a single flower, Elias, but the broken often leave gardens behind them." The breeze shifted, carrying the scent of blossoms, faint but undeniable. Elias turned and saw them, the flowers that lined the path behind him, now fully grown, glowing in the gentle dusk. They stood like a silent choir, each petal shimmering with purpose he hadn't understood until now. And in their presence, Elias made a choice, a vow. He would no longer hide his flaws. He would no longer fear his cracks. He would carry them with pride because they were proof that he lived, that he had struggled, that he had still chosen to give even when he felt he had nothing worth giving. The elder stepped beside him and looked out over the water. "You cannot control how others see your imperfections, but you can choose what you create with them." Elias breathed deeply, letting the last fragments of self-doubt drift away like dust on the wind. "I choose growth," he said. "I choose meaning. I choose to keep walking even if I'm not perfect." The elder rested a hand on his shoulder. "No one is," he said. "That's what makes life beautiful." As the sun finally dipped beneath the horizon, Elias felt something settle inside him. Not perfection, not completion, but peace.
And so, as the night settled over the village and the sound of the river quieted into the lullaby of the earth, the story of Elias, of the broken pot, of the flowers that bloomed from imperfection became a gentle reminder carved into the hearts of all who heard it. A reminder meant for you as well, because in your own journey, in your failures, in the cracks you wish no one could see, there is something quietly miraculous happening, something growing, something becoming, something only you could create. The world may teach us to hide our flaws, to fear mistakes, to pretend perfection is the only path worth walking. But the truth whispered by the river, the flowers, the broken pot, the elder's knowing eyes is this: your imperfections are not your weakness. They are your contribution. They are how the world grows because of you. So walk your path boldly. Carry your cracks without shame. Let the water pour from the places you once tried to seal shut. Let the flowers bloom where you least expect them. And when doubt whispers that you must be flawless to be worthy, remember the story you've just heard. Nobody is perfect, but everyone is capable of leaving beauty behind. And sometimes, the most beautiful things come from the most unexpected cracks.